morning secretary for some of the very pleased. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the monthly show, Speakers and Leaders Hour. We're here in the first couple days of July, and we're not celebrating July 4th exactly, but I think we should all pause and remember and be thankful for what we have because of what happened on July 4th. We're here live in the library, as we are each month, to promote Toastmasters and Robert's Rules of Order, or parliamentary procedure, through the two organizations that you see on the banners behind me. It's just a little higher up, but that's okay. One is the Toastmasters International banner, and the other is the American Institute of Parliamentarians. And most of us are members of both, or at least one of the other. With me are some of the luminaries of Toastmasters in our area. This is Division B. First person I'd like to introduce is our Division B governor, and that is Patricia Knaebe. She's doing this for the second year in a row. And Patricia, thank you for being here. Give yourself a nice hand. And across from Patricia is Tom Haller. Tom is an area governor, and he's also performing that for 2 years in a row, and I actually think it's about his third or fourth term as area governor. Aside from that, he's a former president of Anthony Wayne Toastmasters, and he is the current incoming president of the Bob Lyman Toastmasters Club. So, Tom, thank you for being here too. And next to Tom is a young lady named Marlene Purdy, and she is a dynamo or a fireball or something. She's a past District 28 governor. That's next door in Ohio. She has served a couple terms here in Division B as our Division B governor. She has hosted or co-chaired 2 different conferences here in the Fort Wayne area in the past several years. Dynamic lady and fun to be around and fun to listen to. Thank you, Marlene Purdy. And the last person I'd like to introduce is a person who has been around Toastmasters several years now and has truly gone through the chairs and will one day be our District 11 governor, the governor of all of Indiana and the northern portions of Kentucky. He is a past division governor, a past lieutenant governor of marketing, area governor, and of course division governor. So he knows what he's doing, and he's a fun guy to listen to. And sometimes he's even funny. That is Bob Norris. And Bob, thank you for being here. And of course, I'm Dave Wilkins. I'm the host producer of the show, and I help get the show on the road and here every single month. And tonight I'm going to serve as your Toastmaster. Now, in the past few months, before we really started, we kind of talked about some of the things that we learn in Toastmasters, and I thought tonight perhaps we might talk about props that we have used, props we would like to use in speeches, and what do you think about how to use them, and who would like to start? Patricia, would you like?
Props. I was not going to be prepared for that question, but like a true Toastmaster, let's deal with this as a table topics. Props are a phenomenal use of items that you might want to bring in, whether it be pictures or whether it be some other type of item. And using a prop can be difficult. It can be challenging. Timing the use of a prop is also important because that will impact the speech. You want to practice using your prop because if you bring it in and you don't quite know what to do with it, the hands in the prop can become very distracting, and then you lose the message of the speech. So when or if you plan on using props, be prepared and practice, practice, practice. Thank you, Dave.
Good point. Thank you, Patricia. Bob, have you used any props? Do you find success with some, maybe not so much with others?
Well, that's an interesting question, dealing with it as a table topic. You could use props for almost any situation. I actually had Marlene help me to create a prop one time when we were doing a joke about a special kind of chicken. We actually got the rubber chicken, a cord, and a piece of blue cloth and made it into like a Superman cape. And when it came up with the joke, I produced the chicken and said, here's your chicken, cordon bleu. Did I get the laugh track on that?
We
one?
must pray for this joke which failed. Died, as it were. So do you have any more discussions about props that you'd like to share with us?
Now I just kind of feel like Rodney Dangerfield, no respect at all. But
You expected respect? Look in the dictionary. No.
that's true.
Ba-dum.
That's very true. Props can be very useful. I did the one humorous speech where I did the takeoff on Indiana Jones with the hat, the outfit, and actually even had the whip. Successfully used the whip without killing myself.
And a
And
toilet.
we did not have a chicken with the cordon bleu in that one, though.
Bob, you leave me speechless. You absolutely do. Marlene, how about you?
Actually, I'm going to use a couple of props for my speech tonight.
Oh, okay.
So I'll
Do
demonstrate.
you have any theories as to when they should be displayed? Before, during, after?
They should be right with whatever you're talking about. In other words, if you do them too soon or too late, it loses the impact. Also, they definitely need to be related to what you're saying. And if they're not, why use them?
Well, that's very true. Okay. Tom, any insights on props?
Well, Mr. Wilkins, over the years, I've used all kinds of props. I would have to say that some have gone better than others, but by all means, use props. People only only remember a small percentage of what you say. Indeed, they probably only hear a small percentage. So having some physical object to help focus their attention, help them to remember, is an excellent idea. Discretion must be used in today's society. Bringing in your M16 and field dressing it would probably not be a good idea here at the library.
Oh, man, there goes my speech tonight.
Bob just had to cancel his speech. At any rate, by all means, use props whenever possible.
Actually, I just happened to remember one of my humorous speeches ended up using, it was practically all props.
Your hat?
Confessions of a Pack Rat.
Yes.
And I had this tote that I kept pulling out things from the past, including the most gosh awful ugly dress that I wore in the spelling bee in the 8th grade,
Oh, my gosh.
which was a few years ago.
Okay. Well, actually, I can identify with something that Patricia said about knowing when and how to use them. I gave a speech last night, and I very carefully dug out and brought a book with butterfly pictures in it. Beautiful pictures. Then there was one page where you opened up, it was a whole monarch butterfly. You never saw it. I never opened the dumb book. So, I had intended to. Everything was, with good intentions, but it just did not happen. Okay, well, maybe next month we could talk about gesture and some of the other ways of entertaining people. But I was talking to my wife this afternoon, and I'll share this with you. In some ways, a Toastmaster meeting is a bit like Chautauqua. Now, you're familiar with Chautauqua, are you not, Tom?
I am.
Yeah. Okay, that is the traveling shows that went through the Midwest to little towns in the summertime. They brought tent shows. They brought excerpts of drama from Shakespeare. They had people do dramatic and pathetic readings. They had band conferences. It was a traveling culture show. And I think that when you go to a Toastmaster meeting and you have 4 or 5 speeches or 3 speeches, you're learning something about a whole variety of things. I believe after almost a year of listening, you have probably gained something akin to a first year of college just because of all the information that has been shared with you. And that's how I liken Toastmasters to Chautauqua. So I was almost going to do a Chautauqua theme tonight, but I thought, no, maybe I should not do that. So. And folks, I got to tell you, this is a live interactive show. Our beautiful Allen County Library and the facilities here at Access Fort Wayne give us the opportunity to actually be connected to your homes by telephone. You can call in and talk to us about hopefully anything Toastmaster related that you would like, and we would be happy to share with you any information that we have, perhaps direct you to a club. There are some 15 clubs. Talk about parliamentary procedure if you want to, how to handle a motion, why minutes are important, and so on. But what we really like to do most is talk. And so, since we have 4 terrific speeches tonight, and I have to say we have added something that we have never in all the many years had, something that it may prove wonderful, or there is the chance that it could be a disaster, but we'll let you decide. We have a laugh track if we need to use it. Our first presenter is our own Bob Norris, speaking from the Basic Manual, project number 3, and his topic is Get to the Point by Turning the Tables. The Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training, wing it, Bob Norris.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Take my wife, please. Fellow Toastmasters and audience at home, could have at least had the laugh track on that one. Sometimes you're doing things at home, and the next thing you know, your phone goes off, and it's right at the most inopportune time. Or you might be elsewhere and, oh, wait a second. Hello? Yes. No, I'm sorry. I don't want any of the Ronco slicer, dicer, peelers. No, I know I bought some last time, but I do not want any more. And I'm busy right now. Can you call me back another time? I know you think that you should have the opportunity to share this time with me, but I'm on TV right now. Well, call me, please call me later. I know, and I'm on the no-call list. Please do not call me anymore, okay? Thank you. You know, some people, the telemarketers, caused us to create a no-call list, but yet they found a way to get around it. They call you through computers now. You've heard of the computer programs on, you can call anyone in the world from your computer. Guess what? They forgot to tell the telemarketers you cannot use this program because you cannot trace them. I've had this happen a number of times in the past few days, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice to turn the tables on these great folks? So a friend of mine and I plotted last night. We searched the internet, and like they do on the late talk show, we found at least 10 items that can help you annoy the telemarketers while you turn the tables on them. I will give you at least 10, maybe more if I get a lot of applause. No less, but maybe more. Number 10, when they ask, how are you today? Tell them, oh, my arthritis is bad, my back still hurts. I didn't sleep well last night. You know, the cat's mad at me, the dog is mad at me, the wife isn't speaking to me again. For some of you, that might be a good thing, maybe not for others. And then just go on and tell them about how your canary died. And when they get to the sale part, please buy something. Keep talking about your problems until you hear that little click. Number 9, if they say they're John Doe from the XYZ company, ask them to spell their name slowly and the company name slowly. Then ask, where is it located? Continue using personal questions or questions about the company for as long as it is to make them hang up. Number 8, ask the caller's name. First name, they don't have to have the whole name. And then say, for instance, they say it's Sheila, say, Sheila, baby, is that you? Oh my God, how have you been? And go on and chat with them about how you know about their personal life, even though you don't. Continue on, and hopefully this will give Sheila, or Todd, or Tom, a few minutes of pause as they're trying to figure out, where in the heck do I know this person from? If ATT calls you and asks to sign you up for the Family and Friends plan, reply in a very menacing voice, I don't have any friends, but my therapist says it would be wonderful if I have some friends. Would you be my friend? Number 6, if they want to loan you money, Respond with joy and glee and say, that's awesome because I just went through my second bankruptcy and I could really use some money. Number 5, tell the telemarketer you're so glad they called because you're not allowed to go out shopping right now because you're on home detention. And that little ankle bracelet really bothers the heck out of you. And ask them while they're on the line if they could stop by and pick you up a case of beer, some hot dogs and some chips and bring it over. And be specific about the kind of beer, the hot dogs, and the chips. After the telemarketer gives you their pitch, ask them, male or woman, male or female, doesn't matter, if they will marry you. Now this may say, what? What do you mean marry you? I don't even know you. And then respond, do you think I would give my credit card number to a total stranger? Number 3, tell the telemarketer you are busy at the moment and ask them if they will give you their home phone so you can call them back. When the telemarketer explains they cannot give you their home phone, you can say something like, I guess you don't want anyone bothering you at home, right? Probably the telemarketer will agree and say, now you know how I feel. Number 2, insist the caller is really your buddy Dave playing a joke. Oh, come on, Dave, cut it out. Come on, seriously, Dave, how's your mom? How's the wife? How's the kids? And keep going on and on as though you think it's your friend playing a prank on you. And probably my favorite for this moment is number 1, in a low voice say, I'm very glad you called. I did what you asked. Now to what do we do with the body and how do we wipe up the blood? You know, sometimes people are so lonely and desperate that any calls are welcome. Sometimes they have to get rid of me. I once actually worked for a telemarketing company, and it was so stressful, I decided to get a less stressful job. And my next one was where I went to work as a guard at a maximum security prison. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bob.
That's
What
all, folks.
great suggestions. I can see that you have a real future on the telephone, in the telephone industry. We have at our house somehow been connected with a loan company that wants to loan Bet Wilkins $20,000 to buy a car. This has been going on for about 1.5 years. And the voice is obviously Asian, probably Hindu. And is Bet there? And we have gone on from yelling at them, Bet is not here, she doesn't live here, to now, when they ask if Bet is there, we tear up. And we tell them that she died. That doesn't stop them. They still call. They, honest to God, they still call. So,
Probably trying long distance for
probably.
the dead person.
Yes. Oh. Oh, no. Your time's up, Bob. Okay. Our next presenter is Marlene. And Marlene is, if anything, a world traveler. She truly gets around, I have to say. She's speaking from the professional speaker to the entertaining speech. And tonight, her title is See the USA. Marlene Purdy.
See the USA in your Chevrolet. America is asking you to call. Fellow Toastmasters, and those of you out in TV land, I know it was pretty bad. But how many of you remember Dinah Shore opening her show every week with those words and that music? I actually went on the internet and found out she actually had 2 different types of song, and she changed it. Her motions changed as far as how her arms were used and everything. But the song stuck with me, and I got to thinking, why don't we see the USA more? Now, we've traveled, we've been on cruises, but I am very proud to say that my husband and I have actually seen all 50 states. We've been in all 50 states during our lifetime, and we're very proud of that. But there are a lot of places that we'd still like to see. But I would encourage you out in TV land to give some consideration for your next vacation to actually see the USA. Now, some of you may be more interested in traveling and going to cities. You're city people. You really want to see what the city life is like. For instance, New York City, the Theater District, Wall Street, the Statue of Liberty, all these, Chinatown, the restaurants, shopping, all kinds of things. Central Park, New York just about has it all. Closer by, there's Chicago. Now, Chicago has museums, Michigan Avenue, the Navy Pier, and the Chicago Botanical Gardens. San Francisco, the hills and the cable cars. San Antonio, the Alamo and Riverwalk. Washington, D.C., the many buildings of the Smithsonian. And some people think the Smithsonian Institute is just a museum, but it's multiple buildings of museum. The Capitol, the Vietnam Memorial, and maybe even getting to the White House, which I was privileged to be at a reception at the White House already. Philadelphia has the Liberty Bell, Seattle, Pike Place Market, and just across the water on Victoria Island, there's Bouchard Gardens. And then, of course, there is the houseboat from Sleepless in Seattle. I don't know if any of you have ever seen Sleepless in Seattle. I've seen it numerous times, and I absolutely love it. I've also seen the houseboat from Sleepless in Seattle. Boston, you have the USS Constitution, Bunker Hill Monument, and Old North Church. And then there's Newport, Rhode Island, and the opulent summer houses of the rich and famous. Now, some of you may not be into cities. You may be more into scenic stuff, such as you see up there, a garden. There are many, many gardens that are beautiful in the United States. And then we have some of the parks, and I think there are some more pictures they can show you of some of the scenery that's available. Oh, there's the park again, or the garden. And can we see, this is one of our national parks. And I think my favorite, look at that. What can be more beautiful than snow on these beautiful, beautiful arches out in Bryce Canyon? And I'm not sure where that one is. But these are all scenic things that we can see. The fall colors of New England, or for that matter, southern Indiana. The Outer Banks of North Carolina, where you actually can drive on the beach and be right up close to the wild horses that are roaming on the beach. And then I just mentioned the gardens. I just returned from a 4-day trip to gardens. We went to Winterthur and to Longwood Gardens, Chanticleer, Phipps Conservatory, Nemours Mansion and Garden, and my favorite on the trip, Falling Water, which is the home designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, which was actually built into the side of a hill. So there are actually rocks inside the house that are part of the ground. Really neat. Now, some of you may be into camping or into the park scene. And so the state parks offer a number of options with lodges or camping. In Indiana, we have Brown County, McCormick's Creek, Clifty Falls, Fort Harrison. They also have a golf course, by the way. Pokagon, Spring Mill, and of course Turkey Run. In Ohio, which is just not that far, there's Burr Oak, Deer Creek, Geneva, which is up, Deer Creek, by the way, is just south of Columbus, Geneva, which is up east of Cleveland, Houston Woods down close to Cincinnati, Maumee Bay up at Toledo, Mohican, Punderson, Salt Fork, and Shawnee, which is down close to the Ohio River. I have stayed at many of these parks, and it's a lovely place to see the USA because you can be next to nature and you hear the birds in the morning and you walk the trails, maybe go out to the lake. Very, very nice, relaxing vacation. Or you might decide to take in one of the national parks. And one of the pictures we showed earlier was from my favorite, which is Bryce Canyon. It's pinks and oranges, just absolutely gorgeous. We were there in April, so there was still snow on the ground. So it was really pretty with the green pine trees, the white snow, and the pinks of the rocks. Grand Canyon, Grand Tetons, Yellowstone, Zion, Glacier, where the Continental Divide is, and Arches, Canyonlands, just a few of them. There are actually 401 national parks in the United States. And believe it or not, there is no place in the United States where you're more than 100 miles away from a national park. Indiana actually has 2 of them. They have the Indiana Dunes National Park up at Michigan City and the Lincoln Boyhood Home down at Evansville. Ohio has 3 of them: Cuyahoga Valley up by Cleveland, Dayton Aviation Heritage National Historical Park down at Dayton, and Hopewell Cultural National Historical Park down at Chillicothe. And that particular one has the mounds that are connected with the Native American population. So you decide to do a USA vacation. What do you need to decide? Number 1, how long are you going to be gone, and when are you going? It wouldn't make any sense to try to see the fall colors in New England in August because they're not going to be there. So you have to decide when you're going and how long you're going to be gone, because if you don't allow ample time, it gets kind of crazy trying to squeeze everything in. In fact, that 4-day trip I talked about earlier, we do squeeze a lot into that one, and I jokingly refer to the trips as Louisa's Travel Boot Camp because we cram a lot into that time frame. Then you need to decide how you're going to travel: by car, bus, train, fly, or do a combination. In other words, are you going to try to fly to a location and then rent a car to travel around in that area? How are you going to find your housing? Are you going to stay in a lodge at a camp? Or are you going to actually camp, stay in a hotel, motel, or a bed and breakfast? Whatever you do, you really need to make advanced reservations, because if you don't, you might catch yourself driving at 5 o'clock or 5:30 and want to stop for the night and not find any place and end up driving till 9. I've done it. It's not fun. Take clothing that goes along with the activities you've planned. If you're going to be in a city, you're going to want a little more dressed up than you would if you're going camping. So determine the level of formality and take appropriate clothing, and also appropriate for the weather. Meals, are you going to eat in hotels or in a restaurant all the time? We have found that picnicking is great on vacation. So we try to take a picnic lunch and eat along in the roadside parks once in a while. And then, of course, take whatever camping equipment you're going to need. If you're going to be camping, take the camping gear or sporting equipment. And make sure you have the tickets ahead of time in case you want to do something special. Many times you have to have tickets ahead of time. And then, don't forget maps. Whatever you do, if you don't have a map, now everybody says, oh, we have GPS, we don't need maps. You need a map. GPS doesn't always tell the truth. And determine the routes and approximate travel times to each destination so you can plan accordingly. Another piece that I would always take: good old trusty camera. Don't leave home without it. You may have an iPad or something that you can use. Also allow for the unexpected. Rain or storms, travel glitches such as detours, or discovering an unexpected opportunity. In other words, you see a sign and, oh, that wasn't on my agenda, but oh, I really want to see that. So, and also wanting to spend more time someplace. Maybe you planned your whole schedule and then you decide, oh, I really don't want to leave here. I want to see more, especially in gardens. So allow for those things. But whatever you do, see the USA and have fun, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Marlene. That could be a workshop presentation or a speech giving at a keynote for a conference. I mean, that it just would entertain anybody. Very fine job. Our next presenter is speaking from the Professional Speaker Man book, and it's project number 2. And her title is The Clapper Plus, and the Stick. Please welcome Patricia Knaebe.
Thank you, Dave, Master Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests at home. People have different perspectives. We all see things in our lives differently. This is not more true than with couples. Whether you have a significant other or a spousal unit, I guarantee you, you will see things from a different perspective. I'm going to use my poor husband as an example. My husband and I have been married for 13 plus years. And over that time, I have come to appreciate the different perspectives that we take when it comes to events in our lives or items that we happen to pick up along the way. And tonight, I'm going to give you 2 examples of how this is so incredibly true. A few weeks ago, I was at a Toastmasters event. It was a training session in Indianapolis. The day went beautifully. We had a wonderful time. A lot of great information was shared. And the fun part at the end of the day was drawing for door prizes. Now, at the beginning of the day, each one of us was given a coupon or a ticket for the door prizes. I took my ticket that morning and I looked at it and I thought, this is one lucky ticket. I'm going to win a door prize. At the end of the day, the drawings were held. All kinds of great items were given away. I saw books, I saw crystal mugs, I saw jewelry, and even popcorn given away. Toward the end of the drawing, out came the Clapper Plus. And I thought, my number hasn't been drawn yet, and I hope it's not drawn right now. As luck would have it, I'm standing here this evening with this box. My number was drawn for the Clapper Plus. I walked down to receive my door prize. As I looked at the presenter, Mr. Bob Norris, he knows me well, he knew I was not happy with the door prize, the Clapper Plus. On the drive home, I thought about what I was going to do with this wonderful door prize. I thought, maybe I can re-gift. And I thought, no, that would be too cruel. I thought possibly donate it to Goodwill, possibly resell it at a garage sale. I wanted to somehow unload the Clapper Plus as quickly as I could. I thought about it, and I finally realized that when I brought this box into my household, my husband was going to look at it and say, we need to install this immediately in one of our light fixtures. I knew he was going to love it. So I thought, all right, I'll take it home and I'll show it to him and see what he does with the Clapper Plus. Sure enough, that 13 plus years experience I've had with him came in very handy. I knew he was going to like it. He looked at the box and he said, oh my gosh, honey, it's got a remote. You can not only clap it on and clap it off, you can use a remote. Men love remotes. He promptly installed it into one of our living room light fixtures and stood there gleefully for a half an hour, clapping it on and clapping it off, clapping it on and clapping it off. He even started making jokes about his Clapper Plus. And I smiled and nodded and was very thrilled that I could give my husband a gift that I found to be not so wonderful and he just loves. My second example of different perspectives. A few years ago, my husband and I were traveling to Michigan, and we were on the beach of Lake Huron. We were walking our dogs. It was an idyllic situation. It was a beautiful setting. The sun was out. The waves were rushing in. And as we were walking along, we were throwing rocks into the surf. And my husband spotted a stick. A stick. He picked it up and he said, "Look, honey, I found this really great stick." And I looked at it, and to me, it looked like a stick. To my husband, it looked like an object d'art. It was a misshapen Z, and it was smooth. It was beaten down by the elements. It was made smooth by the water, the sand, the wind, all of the elements that weather driftwood and other sticks. And this misshapen Z of a stick was, as I said, an object d'art to my husband. He said, "I'm taking this stick home and I'm putting it in our house." And I went, "Oh my gosh, we're going to have a stick in our house." Different perspectives. He carefully put that stick in the back of our vehicle. He made sure the dogs could not get a hold of his precious stick. We brought that stick home, and sure enough, the first thing my husband did after we unpacked was said, "Where are we going to put this stick? Where is this stick going to go?" And I thought to myself, please not in the living room, please not in the living room, please not in the living room. He said, "I know, let's hang it above our back door on our enclosed porch. That way, when we walk outside, we will be able to see this beautiful piece of wood." And you know what? Every once in a while, when I walk out the back door of our back porch, I look up at that stick, my husband's object d'art, and I am reminded of that wonderful trip we took to Michigan, the walk along the beach, the fun that the dogs had playing in the water, the fun we had skipping stones. And I'm reminded of that trip. So different perspectives. We have them. The lesson here is let's appreciate those different perspectives because they not only bring us a new glance at life, a new way to look at life, but it also helps us appreciate the items that are brought into our life, the events that are brought into our lives in a new and refreshing way. Master Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Patricia. I'm afraid that I can identify with your husband. I found a stick a few days ago, and I carefully laid it on the porch, and it's still there, by golly. So, our fourth and final speaker this evening is speaking from the basic manual, The Entertaining Speaker. This is project number, looks like a 7 to me. Make them laugh. Service or suffer. Let's welcome Tom Haller.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome TV audience. Before I get into my speech proper, I must point out once again that Patricia is right. Men and women not only look at things different, they remember them different. As I recall, we carpooled down to Indianapolis. Patricia was so depressed that she didn't get the Clapper Plus that nothing would do, but we had to stop at Nordstrom's on the way home and buy one. I think this was all just a cover so her husband wouldn't know how much she spent on that delightful object. That may not be altogether accurate in every detail. It is the way I recall it. All right. One of the many great things that you can do here in the Fort Wayne area, you don't need to travel all over the country, is enjoy many fine restaurants. Fort Wayne has an abundance of top-notch restaurants. The wife and I feel that it's the least we can do to support the economy to partake as often as possible of these restaurants. As enjoyable as that is, there is some room for improvement now and then. I would like to point out that when I go into a restaurant, the shrewd host or hostess would not need to ask me booth or table. Do I look like a booth person, people? Come on now, let's get real. Anybody bright enough to hold a job knows that I'm a table person. Sometimes they pick up on this right away. Sometimes when we get to the booth that would not hold an annoyingly thin Patricia, they catch on then. Sometimes it is such an ordeal to explain it to them, you feel like they should have hired somebody to go through the restaurant crying, "Fat man coming, beware, fat man coming." Let us assume that we have got by this, we are seated, now they take our drink order. In my case, the drink is nearly always a soda pop. In this area, soda pop replacements do not cost anything. They charge enough the first time around. Now, if you had to pay for your drink, this would be completely different, but as long as it's a free refill, when they see that your drink is empty and you have a lot of food to go, must we have the conversation, "Would you like your drink refilled, sir?" No, I'm trying for the Guinness Book of World Records to see how much food I can eat without any liquid. Of course I want a drink. We don't need to discuss this, folks. For goodness sakes, just bring the drink. Now, there's a reason why this comes up so often. If you've ever ordered a soda pop in a restaurant, you will notice that there is very little in the average glass except ice. Come on, people. All ice? No wonder it's empty all the time. Half the ice, half the trips back and forth. I would think that would be obvious. Moving on to the heart of the meal. Almost always, in my experience, the food comes out very well, what you ordered, what you should get. But there are exceptions. People, you need to think about this. Crimes come in two categories. If I were, for example, to rob Bob of some money, I could make up for it by giving him the money back, apologizing, paying for a couple of sessions at a psychiatrist. We'd be all good. But supposing I murdered somebody, I haven't the capacity to make that up. Well, another thing that falls in that category is when you're eating with someone, and most times when you're in a nicer restaurant, you're with somebody, certainly allowed to go by yourself, but most times you have somebody with you in the restaurant. All right. I don't think I've ever seen them, with maybe one exception, mess up both orders. But once in a while, they do mess up one order. What are you supposed to do then? Let us say that my wife's order is not right, but mine is. Do I go ahead and eat right in front of her? That doesn't seem very gallant. Do I let it sit there and get cold? Do I send it back and let them overheat it while they prepare her a new meal? Maybe I could share it with her. Oh, wait, we ordered different things. If we'd wanted the same thing, we'd have stayed home and ate. That's why we went out, so we could each get what we wanted. There's no way to make this right, folks. Just no way. So it's very important to get it right. Most times when anything goes wrong, the restaurant is very happy to correct it to the best of their ability. Like I say, that's something they can't really make all right. Sometimes not so much. This has been many years ago. Now that I have increased confidence As a Toastmaster, I would handle it much different. Many years ago, even a couple of decades or more ago, we were in a restaurant. I ordered a piece of cherry pie. When the cherry pie came, it had 3 cherries in the piece. I don't mean it had 3 cherries in the cherry mixture. I mean there were 3 cherries literally holding up the top crust, like it was a building or something, and there were just 3 uprights holding it up. I mentioned this to the waitress. I pointed this out to her. She nodded sagely, said, yeah, sometimes they do it that way. That was all. That would not happen again. We have toughened our standards. One time, I said usually it's one or the other of us that doesn't get the food correct. One time the waitress greeted us, seated us, disappeared, and we never saw her again until we finally flagged down the manager and said, hey, whereupon the waitress came back crying, admitting that she had completely forgotten us. We were not in her usual area where she serves. She could not have been sorrier. The manager could not have been sorrier. He gave us a free meal. It had taken so long we didn't have time to eat right then, but he gave us a free meal. I think he even gave us something to take with us. Subsequently, the restaurant has closed down. Maybe a little convincing from the audience here. The restaurant has closed down. As soon as they bulldoze it down and sow the ground with salt, I will be completely satisfied. Now, I would point out that I, as a member of the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters, have another weapon in my quiver, another arrow in my quiver. We are now safely ensconced in a college building, which seems to be holding up fine. The Anthony Wayne Toastmaster Club is 65 years old plus, and it has closed down more restaurants in the Fort Wayne area than the Allen County Board of Health ever dreamed of. So if you give us rotten service, I will move the club to your restaurant until you fold. Mr. Toastmaster.
Gosh, Tom, why didn't you tell him how you really felt? Wow. Well, folks, that's 4 different completely speeches from Toastmasters, and this is what we practice doing. As you can see, we do have a good time. I mean, we really have a lot of fun in our meetings. And we talk about whatever it is that we want to share with the group that evening. We're not told what to talk about. We're given goals to accomplish. As we mentioned earlier, maybe it's gestures or visual aids or humor.
I have some more ways to annoy a telemarketer.
Oh, you do? Oh,
Yes, if you'd
well,
like me to share them, let me know.
I'm glad. Actually, that was quite funny, though. It really was. Now, the heart and soul of the Toastmaster meeting is the evaluation. And that's what occurs when all the speeches are done, and the various manuals have been passed to the different people, and they each do an evaluation of one another. They evaluate the speech, not the person. So, to that end, we have Tom Haller giving the evaluation of Robert Knox's speech.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, especially Bob. Long time no see out there. Bet you missed me, didn't you?
Checks in the mail.
Right. So, won't touch that with a 10-foot pole. We love Bob. We love him so much that we harass him mercilessly. We regard it as our bounden duty. Actually, he gave an excellent talk, as he virtually always does. It says, what did you like about it? The jokes did get better. Right along, they got better. It started low, so it wasn't that hard, but they got better until after he was done. Then they plummeted rapidly. I don't know if you could hear that on camera or not. That was the compliment. I mean, he's already suffering. I haven't got to the bad part yet. Once again, it was an excellent talk. We enjoyed it very much. In a more serious vein, I would have aimed for a little stronger opening, Bob. Perhaps something like, those darn telemarketers! they're going to kill me yet. You know, just a thought. Okay. All right. Now, an excellent job by Bob, and we look anxiously forward to his next speech. Mr. Topic Master, whatever you may be today.
Okay. All righty, thank you, Bob. While we're talking, does anybody have any other comments about Bob's speech that they'd like to share with you?
It was funny.
You were funny, yes, I
I
have.
always liked you, Marlene.
Right,
Prop, too. We talked about props earlier. I liked your use of a prop.
yes. Okay. Well, could you come up here and share your information about Marlene's presentation?
I would be delighted. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests at home. Before that, since I was so rudely cut off there, I will tell you that when the telemarketer calls and harasses you, ask them what they're wearing. Specifically, what color underwear are they wearing today? And repeatedly ask them if they still believe in unicorns. And if that doesn't work, proudly describe what you found in your ear this morning.
Oh, my God.
Okay, with that, we will lighten up and talk about Marlene. See the USA, great opening with the song. I'm glad I did not have to sing it because I cannot carry a tune in a bucket anymore. But Marlene did a great job, caught the group's attention. She logically put everything together, had a great opening, body, and then close. Very well with the where, how, and when. People were engaged. They were smiling and paying attention. I didn't hear anyone snoring, and that's a good thing. I've heard that before in my speeches, so, I was supposed to bring that up. I did hear a laugh that time. Anyway, one of the things, purpose of this speech was to be a humorous speech. I thought this was a great speech, but more along the lines of informing about great places to go. I would have loved to have heard some of the things that went wrong. Or maybe we can't share those, I don't know. But we always, at least the trips I've been on, we've always had something that was humorous looking back at it. At the time, we're thinking, oh my gosh, that happened. So I would, much of a traveler as Marlene is, I'm sure there must be one or two other ones that she could share with us. Or maybe she's not wanting to share with us. Okay. I always love listening to Marlene because it's always informative and entertaining in one way or the other. So when you have the opportunity, come to our club and listen to Marlene speak. And now I will not share any more ways to annoy a telemarketer. I will simply return control to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. And Marlene has an evaluation of Patricia. So Marlene, could you come up here, please?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our friends out in television land, and especially Patricia. The Clapper Plus and the Big Stick, when I heard that title, I thought, what in the world is this going to be all about? And it very clearly had two sections that delineated what you were talking about different perspectives. And we were definitely entertained because I heard the chuckles as we were going along. And I thought one technique that you had especially effective was when you were doing the clapping on and off. That was very effective. If there were, and the quotes from your husband also, I thought, provided humor because of the way you delivered them. I'm sure he didn't quite say it in the tone that you used, but it was very effective. If there were any things that I thought you could have improved upon, would have been at the beginning, because you talked about the Clapper Plus and the Big Stick, and you did have the box to show the Clapper Plus. I would have loved to have seen that piece of driftwood. So if you would have started out holding up the Clapper Plus and the driftwood and said, different perspectives, and started out that way, I thought would have been a little more effective. Otherwise, it was excellent speech, and I enjoyed it, even though I was not sure where you were going at first. Good job.
Patricia, I thought perhaps your husband might have electrified the stick with little lights, and then he could sit back there. Could you come up here and evaluate Tom Howler, please? Okay. I guess I should say hit Tom Howler's speech.
I like the first thing. I like the first one.
Yes.
You said that better.
Thank you, Master Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests at home, and especially Mr. Tom Haller. It is not in our nature as Toastmasters to evaluate the person. We evaluate the speech. Tom's objective was to make us laugh, and Tom, you met that objective beautifully. The audience was entertained. I saw great eye contact. I heard laughter, a lot of smiling. We were all engaged in the message you were giving us. You used exaggeration and wonderful examples to tell us your story about eating in restaurants. The jokes and stories fit the theme beautifully. You had wonderful examples. Your storytelling delivery is very smooth. Your vocal variety is wonderful. Had you had a little more space up here, I know your body language would have been exaggerated as well to accentuate your examples. I really couldn't find anything that I would do differently in the speech. I was thoroughly engaged and enjoyed it. I thought your speech was exceptional. I hope to hear it in a humorous speech contest someday. Great job. Master Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Patricia. And we are starting to run out of time, but I'll tell you real quickly that, Bob, your speech lasted 5 minutes and 3 seconds. Marlene, 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Patricia, 7 minutes and 35 seconds. And Tom, 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So good job. And folks, if you're watching from home, have you noticed any difference in the camera work or camera techniques? Because we have 2 brand new camera operators. We have Don Rizwan and we have Robert Boyd. Both are members of the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters. And they came down here and took this training some time ago. And they were willing to come tonight and help us out, and I hope they will come back again in the future. Of course, in the booth, we have our old friend Dennis Osborne, and he's been a mainstay for this group for a very long time. And tonight, our technical director was Otto Boucher. All of you have done a really wonderful job. Thank you for watching. Our next live TV show will be on August 6th, right here in the library. It'll be a Tuesday night. And we would love to see you from 7 to 8 p.m. in the evening. And in the meantime, remember there's Toastmaster clubs all over Fort Wayne. There's the Bob Lyman Club that meets the second and fourth Mondays at Pizza Hut. And then the Anthony Wayne meets every week at Ivy Tech there on Coliseum. And the Red Cross Club meets every week.
Every Tuesday at noon.
Every Tuesday at noon, okay. And I'm part of the Bearfield Toastmasters. If I was anywhere tonight that wasn't here, it would be Bearfield Toastmasters. So hi, Bernice, that's my wife. Anyway, thanks, folks, for watching. This is the Speakers and Leaders Hour. Nobody called in, but that's okay. We know you're out there. So we'll see you all next month. And until next time, may all your speeches be great, and may all your meetings be fair. Bye-bye.
American Institute of Parliamentarians, which is the other half of the church which is in the mornings.
Very clean.